It is preparing to live stream the meeting. Oh, it shows here. That is new for me. It just showed that we are preparing. I on Ivy with TGL. I think we are live. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And this is the Grey Lounge, having the honor of Ms. Shanza on board. And for all those who are aspiring to have education abroad in the best universities possible and a career path to choose which career path to choose from what, how to proceed. इस तरह की काफी सारे सवाल और काफी सारी discussions के लिए हमने रिक्वेस्ट की है शांजा को कि वो हमारे साथ आप तक इस चीज को लेके आए और थोड़ा सा हमें वो अपने कंपनी का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का बताएंगे जो उन्होंने एस्टैब्लिश की है. So let us begin. Welcome Shanza, and the mic is all yours.
Assalamu alaikum, Xaryab. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure and honor to be amongst you today.
The pleasure is all mine.
Xaryab, a little bit about Ion Ivy. Ion Ivy is a relatively young and new organization in Pakistan. It's a little over 2 years old now. And the reason I started Ion Ivy is because of my own experiences and my own children. So up till now, for the last 20 years or so, I'm an economist by training. I've been working with multinationals, whether it's the Asian Development Bank or the World Bank and different UN organizations. And I was mostly, for the most of the last 20 years, have been based out of Washington, DC. So when my family moved back to Pakistan 3 years ago and my children were going to school here, मैं अपने स्कूल काउंसलर्स पे बच्चों को लेके गई थी और मैंने उनसे पूछा कि जी आप बताइए कि समर्स में क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं कि मैं इनको इंटर्नशिप करने भेजूं या वॉलंटियर करने भेजूं. एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम मेरी बेटी जो सबसे बड़ी थी, शी वाज इन क्लास 8. तो काउंसलर्स ने बड़ी हैरानगी से मेरी तरफ देख के कहा कि व्हाई आर यू हियर, यू नीड टू कम टू अस इन A1. So I told them that I went, alhamdulillah, I had the opportunity to go abroad on a full scholarship, both at the undergraduate level and at the graduate level. And so I told them, I know how this process works. Hum white collar, humble background ke hain. My children can only go on a full scholarship. So I knew that my children needed to start in class 9. Because that is the point where college admissions start really looking at your profile, your CV, what experiences you have had. So when I told them this, they were like, no, you've got it wrong. In Pakistan, it's much later in the day. Let your children grow up and, then they can have these experiences. And the more I looked around, it wasn't just that particular school where my children were going. It turned out that most children in Pakistan start thinking about college when it's time to apply. So that means agar aap undergraduate ke liye ja rahe hain, kids kind of wake up to this process during their A levels. Or if you're thinking about your masters, they start thinking about this right in their senior year. Where technically speaking, undergraduate ke liye everything from class 9 onwards counts, and for graduate school, everything you have done in your undergraduate counts. So, that was one aspect of this. So that gave the genesis ke, there is this gap over here, which so many different children are unable to avail these opportunities. And there's so many like me in this space who can't afford to send their children without a scholarship. That's just the way it is. How many of us can afford to pay for a private education $80,000 to $100,000 per year? That is the sticker price of a private college in the university. It's simply not possible. And so that gave rise to Ion Ivy, because while I was doing my master's at Harvard University, I had the chance to be part of their admissions committee at the Kennedy School. And they kind of trained us on how to evaluate an application when it is submitted. What weightage is given to your essays, what weightage is given to your grades, what weightage is given to your extracurriculars. And so I had all this experience all along. I had been working with children informally, but I decided when I came back to Pakistan that I would actually now completely focus my energies on college counseling. And so that gave rise to Ion Ivy.
Okay, okay. And when did it actually start? When did you initiate this, register this as an organization?
So it was registered 2 years ago, actually a little over 2 years ago. It's now 2 years and 5 months.
Okay. And for people who want to benefit, who want to get guidance, let's say that I'm just an average a layman asking you if as a parent or as an older brother or as a teacher even guiding students, how does Ion Ivy help a student to, I mean, how does Ion Ivy take from which students are the ideal age bracket for Ion Ivy to bring on board for guidance and sending them to the right direction? Question one. And question two is what are the particular areas of interest that, if there are any, that you would say, okay, these subjects or these areas of interest you would recommend someone else, or these areas of interest you would cater that, okay, yes, if students are aspiring to go to X, B, Y, Z, or A, B, C, how does Ion Ivy look at these questions?
So, Xaryab, that's a very good question. We have 3 divisions in our company. One is the college admissions division, those who need assistance just in time to apply to college. There is a profile building division, and then there is our international competitions division. I'll walk you through these one by one. Yes. The question on when should one start thinking about the college process and when should they get serious? We follow the Western model in this regard, that students who are about to enter class 9 need to start thinking about this process. Now, most class 9 students, if you ask them कि बेटा आप बड़े होके क्या बनना चाहते हो, don't necessarily have a very clear answer, unless यहाँ पे है वो ट्रेंड के पेरेंट्स कहते हैं कि तुमने बेटा डॉक्टर बनना है या इंजीनियर बनना है. Apart from those, and there are some students who know what they want to do, but I would say the vast majority of students don't yet have a clear idea about what they want to do in life. So the first step is that we actually do personality tests with them. We make them go through a number of tests to see what are the inherent strengths and weaknesses of that particular student. Are they a creative writer? Are they a risk taker? Do they like public speaking? So these tests do all of that for them. And then they suggest appropriate careers aligned with those particular strengths and weaknesses. We make students do 3 of these tests. A reason for that is we want to verify the results against one another. If the kid was not taking it in a good mood or was not paying attention, that something else showed up. So we make them do 3 to verify the results. And let's, for example, say that the results came out that this child would be a good graphic designer. The next step is to verify that information on ground. So what we do is we would facilitate that student in getting an internship opportunity in that particular field of graphic designing. That would give the student on-ground exposure to what is it in the life of being a graphic designer. It's not that you're going to go in on day 1 and start coding, right? The first time you're doing internships, particularly at the high school level, it's really more about being exposed to that particular environment. इससे जी 2 चीजें होती हैं, and we found 2 things in this. Either a student comes back and says, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. Fantastic. तो फिर हमने in counseling jargon इसको हम कहते हैं academic passion. We have then established the academic passion. Alternatively, the student can come back and say, ma'am, you placed me in this public hospital, which we have done so for medical students, and वहां पे इतनी बू थी, इतना खून था, मेहनत और डॉक्टर बनना ही नहीं है अपनी जिंदगी में. And so, this is a wake-up call for the family that, hey, you're planning to pursue a career in medicine, but you can't take the sight of blood, or you can't take those conditions, right? It's not that the student has gone anywhere near a patient, they're just in that environment, but that in and of itself because a lot of our children are in bubbles, Xaryab. They don't really get a chance to go out and see what that environment is like. So that allows us to determine the academic passion. So at this point, once we've done that, we then have a conversation with the entire family. Why? Because Pakistan ke cultural situation mein, it is the parents who are, the ultimate decision on whether the child is going to go abroad or not, or what the child is going to, pursue in their subjects and so on. Very, very few Pakistani parents I have come across will say, I give an open blanket to my child, wo jo marzi kar le. There are few, but very few. The vast majority of them have a very clear-cut idea or need to sign off on, okay, this is the particular line my child is going to follow. So once that consensus is done with the parents that, okay, this is what the academic passion is going to be, then we determine both within school and outside of school what all should be done during the course of class 9, 10, 11 to make sure that the student is getting the right opportunities at the national level and at the international level to be a competitive candidate. Why? The reason we do this is because, as I mentioned earlier, most Pakistani families cannot afford to go abroad unless you have a full ride. In other words, aapki, almost entire tuition is being paid, sometimes even your accommodation. Otherwise, it's just simply too expensive for families. And if you truly want to be in that competitive zone, we are, as an international applicant, main aapko bata sakti hoon ki when you send your application to another country, as an international, you're not just competing with your fellow Pakistanis. It's not enough to say that my cousin goes to LGS or Beacon House, unke haan to koi internships nahi ho rahi, to mujhe bhi kya karne ki zarurat hai. The reason for this is you're being assessed against the Chinese, the Indians, the rest of the people, in this region. And therefore, you have to be as competitive as they are. And the world of college admissions has now become extremely competitive. So this is essentially kind of our profile building division in a nutshell. Our college application division looks at things like taking forward the example of graphic design or engineer, what are the best engineering programs in the world? That is the first thing we look at. Not we advise parents don't get fixated on a particular country, unless there are some situations where families come and say, particularly when it comes to girls, I have a chacha in Canada or I have a mamu in London. Apart from such situations, we tell them कि जी आपकी एक global outlook होनी चाहिए. What are the best programs in the world for what your child wants to pursue? So if it's engineering, for example, QS and Times Higher Education are two of the most well-known global ranking entities. And इनकी हर subject में international ranking निकलती है for all universities around the world. If you take a subject like engineering, which is a very popular subject in Pakistan, और अगर आप देखें कि जी top 100 universities in the world कौन सी हैं, so I can guarantee you the vast majority of your audience today will be greatly surprised to see the results. More highly ranked than some of the Ivy institutions of the world, you will find Asian institutions, universities in Singapore, universities in Hong Kong, universities in Korea. And there are two things we need to keep in mind on when we look at these different countries. Number one, depending, as I said, on the subject and in terms of engineering and technology, Asia is now the cutting edge of where all of this is happening. So if you truly want to learn what is going on in my particular field, Asia may very well be in this particular regard. Dusra, many of these countries, your chances of getting a full ride and a full scholarship are much, much greater than other parts of the world. For instance, even though UK bada appeal karta hai hamare students ko, particularly I think because of our colonial history, UK is especially stingy when it comes to undergraduate scholarships. Aapko, even if you have excellent academics, आपको 3,000 या 4,000 pounds से ज़्यादा per year discount nahi milega, which is nothing. If your entire tuition is 28,000 pounds and you're getting a 4,000 pound discount, I still can't afford to send my child abroad, right? So isliye hum ek global outlook suggest karte hain, uspe we help students match. Okay, where is the probability where you're going to get a full scholarship? Because my philosophy, Xaryab, and once again, I feel very strongly about this. This is not for a child to basically get admissions in particular universities, which I think, unfortunately, is the philosophy of many other consultancy firms which are out there. You know, they like to advertise, our kid got into University of Toronto, our kid got in UBC. But unless the kid got a full scholarship to go to University of Toronto and can actually afford to go there, what's the use, right? So you need to really pick and choose. Our philosophy, it's not just about getting admission, it's actually being able to financially go there. Yeah. So that's one part of the work where we do in our college applications, strategically selecting universities. Then, of course, helping students with their brainstorming about their essays, what their approach should be, CV, and so on and so forth. Our third part of the company focuses on international competitions. This kind of stemmed from our work in the profile building division. हमने जब शुरू किया देखने के लिए कि okay, जो हमारे we have such talent in our country. Where can our student in mathematics represent Pakistan? And we wanted to send a student to SIMO, which is Singapore का Southeast Asian Mathematical Olympiad. हमने जब उनकी वेबसाइट देखी तो वहां पे आपको मंगोलिया नजर आ रहा था, नेपाल नजर आ रहा था, काजाकिस्तान नजर आ रहा था, पाकिस्तान का झंडा कहीं नहीं था. And so when we reached out and said, hey, can our kids participate? They were like, there's no one registered from your country. And that actually started the process of us saying and thinking, okay, why don't we become the country partner for all of these international organizations? ताकि any child, and this is what we have now secured, any child, चाहे आप public school जाते हैं, चाहे आप private school जाते हैं, चाहे आप NGO के sponsored school जाते हैं, in any of these competitions, you can now directly sign up through your computer and participate, whether or not your school is registered. Because another problem in Pakistan is bureaucracy. I give this example often. If people have heard me before, they know this. I love my school. I went to Convent of Jesus and Mary, but especially in the era when I was growing up, there were not many opportunities to participate in competitions, and they were very conservative in that regard. They wouldn't really let you. So for those sort of children, agar mera dil bhi cha raha tha ki main kuch karu, I couldn't. So this is to kind of overcome that red tape. Whether or not your school is registered, this gives the power in the hands of the student and the parent to say, okay, this is going on, let me just sign up for it. So that's kind of our third division, which supports profile building. The reason we got into competitions once again is because for those applicants who are looking at the United States, आपको common app में एक पूरा section fill करना पड़ता है कि what awards have you won, and वो एक drop down box है. Did you win this award at the international level, national level, regional level, inter-school and school? So I'm very happy to see on coming back to Pakistan, there's a lot of stuff now happening inter-school level. Pe. You see gramathons, you see HSN fests, but you don't see much going on once again at the national and international level. So us vacuum ko fill karne ke liye, that's why we got Pakistan to have these relationships with these international organizations where Pakistanis can now directly go and compete, because we want them to secure those rankings and those awards.
Okay, mashallah. Okay, after this discussion, I had a few questions that I mean, just for the sake of my understanding. The first part you mentioned was for the kids in the 9th grade, 10th grade, this age bracket we're talking about. Yes. And then you mentioned the college application, second category. What is the age bracket or class grade threshold in the second category?
So the college application process, and this is once again a very good question. Many people start thinking about applying when half of the deadlines have already gone. So you really need to start thinking about the college application process in terms of the paperwork and filling everything out is in your A1 or FSC FA1 year, rather than year 2, because wo jo summer period hai between A1 and A2, that is when the bulk of this work needs to be done. Also, क्योंकि हमारी global outlook है, जैसे मैंने आपसे कहा, different countries have different academic calendars. So you want to make sure that you simply don't miss out, an entire country's calendar because you started this process so late.
Okay. Okay. Now, my other question is related to, because you mentioned a test. You said you first take personality tests, aptitude tests, sort of tests
Yes.
that identify to you the interest on a broader level to the team that you have. Then they can see whether a kid who does not actually want to get into all the blood factor of being a doctor and all the awe factors, and then probably reverts to another field of interest, or maybe a kid says yes. This particular test that you mentioned, that is the first thing for a student.
Yes.
If a student or a parent approaches your organization, your company, this is the first thing you do is put them through a test.
This is the first thing that we do. By the way, and once again, being a parent, I've got 3 children. We try to avail a lot of opportunities and facilities which are available out there for free and will not cost the student or parent anything. तो मैंने आपसे जो ये personality test का जिक्र किया है, anyone who's actually tuning in today can go online and do these. The ones we use are opencolleges.com, truity.com, and one more, and I'll send that to you later, Xaryab. You can go to these online tests and actually do the entire testing over there. It doesn't take more than an hour. There's no such thing as a right or wrong answer. It's simply, these tests are simply trying to gauge your character strengths and your personality. Okay. And so that forms the basis of the discussion. Obviously, if a parent is fixated, KG, no matter what, mere bete ne yahi karna hai ya meri beti ne yahi karna hai, so then we will forego that bit and move onwards. But our strong recommendation is that this is the base where you should start with. This should be the basis of discussion, because especially in today's age, there are so many career options out there that parents and even students are unaware of. Taking that example of medicine, parents think that if their child doesn't go into medicine, that's the end of it. But yeah. if a kid, let's say, likes the sciences, but say cannot stand the sight of blood, there are other career options like biotech and, genetic modification and so on and so forth, where you can actually still get a degree related to those subjects without having going through the process of getting a medical degree.
Okay, so this test could be a part of your company, or they can take these tests elsewhere on other websites so that the parents
they can go ahead and go to the website and do this completely on their own. And another point, I will mention, please, we don't waste any money purchasing the full reports of these things. They give you the results come up. They don't allow you to save it. So when they pop up, it's a good time to take out your phone and take a picture of the results. And I think the amount of information they give you is good enough for you to say, okay, why don't we consider this as a first step and see how that goes?
Okay. Now, the way I've learned so far throughout this process is that, for instance, if a child is in the 9th grade or 10th grade, at this age somewhere, you suggest that this is the ideal most age for the kids to start building on a concept of their career and education abroad and wherever they want to. Now, so for a parent, because many parents would get to see this video sooner or later, be it now or later on our YouTube channel. They would want to know that as a parent, if they have a child in the ninth grade, they would now, because of your discussion, I'm sure many parents would now put those kids onto those websites to go through those tests so that they can actually to themselves identify where they fall, where their interests actually fall.
Yeah.
And once they've taken the test, then how do they approach you? How do they come to your company, to your website or however? And what is the next phase of the student coming to your platform?
So a student can come in at any point through our platform. It depends on the guidance and assistance that a student needs. Our website is ionivy.com. And let's say the student did the testing and just wants to get access to all the math competitions within Pakistan, internationally, what other stuff related to math can they do? They can come to us in class 10, they can come to us in class 11. Even for colleges, we work almost like a restaurant menu, Xaryab. The idea is not, once again, कि आप आए, आप ये package लें और सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा. Our students are also very savvy these days. Oftentimes, they have a lot of the tools they already need. Other things they need assistance in. So, even for our college applications, हमने सारा list किया हुआ है. What do you need assistance in? Do you need assistance in selecting colleges? Do you need assistance in brainstorming for an essay? Do you need assistance in interview prep? You select what you want, and we are there to help you.
Okay, perfect. Beautiful. And then the same goes for the college students.
The same goes for the college students as well. And, college students, when I assume when you say college students and you're talking about those who wish to go for their master's and PhD, we can have a discussion at further length. But, once again, depending on the country they're targeting, the academic passion or major they want to pursue, the number of years of work experience you require before you apply can very much vary, especially if you are targeting scholarships, which I am a firm believer कि किसी को अपने masters or PhD के लिए नहीं pay करना चाहिए. There's so many scholarships and opportunities out there that as long as you plan it correctly, you should be going on a free ride. So, for example, Australia का एक scholarship program है called AusAid. In order for you to be eligible to even apply, you have to have worked 2 years. So, one needs to keep in mind that if you have 1 year of work experience and you're thinking, chalo main apply kar leta hu, the fact is, if you are competitive to get that scholarship, it makes more sense for you to work another year and then get 2 years of free education.
Yeah.
So, that's what graduate students should keep in mind of. And there are other country scholarships, once again, plan wisely. UK की आपको कौन सी target करनी चाहिए, university specific भी होती हैं, country specific भी होती हैं. But for the masters and PhD level students, I firmly believe you should not be paying for your education. I didn't. I don't think anyone else should either.
Now, this is the sort of advice that you give to the parents and the students once they start to interact with you.
Well, we do have, we're invited for talks sometimes to different platforms like yourself. And over here, we get a chance to, talk in depth about such issues. But otherwise, unfortunately, I think, Xaryab, there is so much misinformation out there about what is expected, what is required. I think one of the biggest challenges I face and sadness I face in telling parents is who come to me right when it's time to apply to college, the A2 students. And वो आके कहते हैं कि my child got 8 A stars and 4 A's. And इसका तो आप कहीं भी, they're so good, they should be getting a full scholarship in any of the top universities. And I have to break it to them that grades are just one of the factors that being looked at. If the rest of your 4 years you wasted आपने 9, 10, 11, 12 में कुछ भी नहीं किया, then frankly speaking, you are on a very, very weak wicket. This is one of the biggest problems I think Pakistani parents face. All the emphasis is on academics, none on extracurriculars. Once again, it depends कि आप कहाँ apply कर रहे हैं. For a country like the UK, for example, और अगर आप undergraduate की तरफ देख रहे हैं, आपको सिर्फ एक personal statement submit करना होता है. उसमें से it's recommended कि, you know, they're basically looking 80% at your academics, your grades, 20% at your extracurriculars. But as I said, UK is not one of my favorite destinations simply because of the financial situation. If I look at other countries, if I look at America or if I look at Canada, wahan pe you have to list at least 10 activities you have done after class 9. The stronger those activities are, the more competitive you are as a candidate. मुझे really बहुत दुख होता है when I get these excellent academic students who have done nothing else for the past 4 years in their lives.
Other than the academics.
Other than the academics.
Or iske points, I mean, it values.
It does. And, you know, it really varies from country to country, but generally speaking, US, which tends to be a big favorite amongst Pakistani students to apply, which, by the way, with good reason, because the US is very generous when it comes to financial aid, and you can, you know, fairly easily secure a full ride if you've got all the other elements in place. But other places such as अगर आप एशिया की तरफ देखें, then academics do play a very, very important role. But you will notice कि जब आप scholarships के लिए जा रहे हैं, you will get asked questions about how did you exercise leadership during high school. तो वो in some sense फिर से आ जाता है कि आपने और क्या extracurriculars किए while you were in school, but not at that depth and level which there is in the US. So I would say the US is the hardest process in that sense. Canada requires 5. So University of Toronto will ask you to list 5 activities. In America, it is a minimum of 10. So if you can, the aim should always be you aspire for the hardest, because then you've covered everyone else.
Okay, perfect. What I'm going to now notice is, and I'm going to ask if any of our participants have questions, be it as a student or be it as a parent or a sibling. ये questions आप साथ पूछ सकते हैं. Shanza is here. While she's here, you can ask questions live right now. And of course, if you have questions later on after having seen this video, we would also send you or put on in the description of the video later on the email addresses of Shanza and Ion Ivy. You could actually always go to their Instagram link that we have already put in the group and also in the descriptions in the past few days, in the Instagram and the website that she just mentioned, ionivy.com. And there you could always access the website and send your questions across. Otherwise, you can ask questions right now. So if someone has a question, they can always raise hand and unmute. Okay, Hani has already put a question. Let's see the question. For master's scholarships, do they also see extracurricular activities other than academics, especially for ME in biomedical engineering fields?
So very good question, Hani. The first part, or you know, if you can respond back to that, if you can indicate which country you are targeting, that would play a big role. But nonetheless, yes. For scholarships in particular, especially full-funded scholarships, they want to see what work experience you have related to the major you want to study. So if you're planning to go for a master's in biomedical engineering, ideally speaking, you should have at least 2 years under your belt of full-time work experience after you have completed your bachelor's before you go for your master's.
Okay. Okay. Now, that also gives brings a question to my mind. Those who want to get access to your company for assistance, I mean, if they're not residents of Pakistan, can they also from other countries get online with you and
absolutely, Xaryab. COVID has been terrible for the entire world, but the one big advantage has been that even we, for the most part, work, I would say 80% remotely with our students. Students have realized, even if they're based in Lahore, कि हमारा इतना वक्त बचता है in the time travel and petrol costs, which are skyrocketing again, to just have a Zoom conversation. So we actually have students in Australia, we have students in Singapore, we have students in the US. So no matter which part of the world you're in, we can absolutely work with them remotely.
Okay.
United States. Yes, so for a master's scholarship in the United States in particular, I would suggest, Hani, that you should have a minimum of 2 years work experience. You will notice that for certain fields, for instance, if you're planning to go for an MBA, or if anybody else who's tuning in is planning to go for an MBA, you will notice that the university several times will require a minimum of 2 years of work experience. And a good thing to eyeball is you can go to the university page and it gives you the latest class profile. What is the average age of the students and so on. And you will see that for business school and business related subjects in particular, the average age after you have done your bachelor's and before you go for your master's in the US is 5 years. Very different trend in the UK. And because hamara once again heritage unke saath hai, we have that tendency ke padhai pehle puri khatam ho jaye, uske baad hum apni practical life start karenge. But so you need to be careful which country you are targeting and plan accordingly.
Okay. And while people are throwing their questions at you, I also have one more question from my side. For a child of say 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, who actually, just like you mentioned in the earlier part of the program, that these kids actually, most of them, if not all, do not really know what to look ahead as or what to look ahead to. And parents at that age, when the child is at that age, parents really don't bother much. They wait until the 10th grade, 11th grade, or at times after their high school, that okay, now we think that you should go for medicine or law or engineering. So if a child at that age, I mean, okay, the child would remain a child. If the parent having a child at that age listens to your conversation and gets to know that this is the ideal age for parents to plan ahead for their children, so how do you think a parent should approach a child of this age to guide the child that, okay, sweetheart, you may be young, and you right now you're just looking at the 9th or the 10th grade exams, and or however in some sections it's the matriculation board exams, and in some, of course, it's the other way around. So how should a parent start to guide a child of this age to look ahead into these directions?
Xaryab, I think it should start off with frank family dinner time conversations. And you would be surprised that sometimes when families, even at the A-level part, and we're meeting, parents together with the child for the first time in order to map out, okay, which colleges should we apply to, that even the parents themselves, the mother and the father, have very different ideas and very different perceptions about what they want from their child. And so you're absolutely right. For the most part, there is no kind of conversation going on at home. Okay, what options are there, what you should be thinking of. I think first of all, to start having those conversations, without a dictatorial manner कि तुमने ये करना है, more of an open exploratory conversations. Oh, what careers are there? What are the financial feasibilities of different career pathways and so on? I think that's a very good beginning to just start off with. Uske baad, then is another key factor in this is the student themselves. Students who have a good idea about what they want to do are those who will fare very well in the European 3-year model. Most European programs are 3-year programs, whereas US programs and other liberal arts programs are 4-year programs. If you know what you want to do, you can go narrow and deep. That's what the 3-year European model exposes you to. It also gives you a co-op work experience in that field in it. But if you are the type of student who's not sure, even after going through some of these experiences, and I have a couple of students who are indecisive, who can't make up their minds, for them, my answer is this. I don't want you to worry that once I pick my academic major, I'm locked into it. Zindagi, that's it. No. The beauty about a liberal arts sort of 4-year education is that you actually have the opportunity to pivot in the first 2 years of school. So in fact, you don't have to declare your major till the beginning of your junior year, so your 3rd year. The first 2 years, you're exposed to a wide variety of subjects. Even though my major was in economics, I had to take an elective out of the arts. I took music appreciation. For me, it was the lesser of the evils between taking something in theater or something else. I had to take a science. I took biology. So, for those students who are still unsure, I don't want you to think, oh, मैंने ये कर लिया है अपने high school में और अब मैं फंस गया हूँ. No, if you're the kind of student who wants wiggle room, then you should definitely look at a 4-year program.
Okay, perfect. Now, in the meanwhile, we had 2 questions. One is from our very important family member, Ms. Sara Rasool Khan. She is now sending a message to you from Srinagar. She's currently at Srinagar. She's teaching students there of different classes. If I can ask her to ask if I request her to ask the question personally on the microphone, because in Srinagar, she has certain internet issues, so I'm pretty sure that's preventing her from coming onto the microphone. But her question I will still try to convey to you. She said she had a similar sort of a question. She says, Assalamu alaikum. Do you also guide the children how to seek the right career?
So yes, Sarah, that is precisely the whole process of profile building, that, starting off with the personality test. And then after we do the personality test, that's where after that, step 2 is actually a frank conversation with the parents and the child all together about, really putting everything on the table. And sometimes, I'll openly say this. Let's say the personality tests come out. Okay, this child is, would be a very gifted artist. And I can imagine, and, some families being very against that in Pakistan, that, oh, how would you financially support a family with such a career choice? That's where we actually discuss career options given the student's strengths with the family's, hesitations. Okay, we can understand you don't want him to pursue a fine arts career. It's a legitimate concern. It's a valid concern. But how about thinking about a career in architecture? How about thinking a career in graphic designing? So, we will pick something that would suit, or at least work in both parties' favor, get both parties on board with that particular with those particular conversations.
Okay, perfect. Hiba, your mic is already, I've tried to unmute your mic. You have a question, then we have a hand raised by Iram Fahim, then we will take Iram's question. Hiba, what's your question? If you could ask personally, otherwise, if you want me to read it
Yes,
out,
sir.
I will read
I'm
it.
asking. Yeah. So, sir, I have two questions. पहला क्वेश्चन मेरा ये है कि व्हाट्स द वेबसाइट फॉर पर्सनालिटी टेस्ट जो इन्होंने अभी बात की ना पर्सनालिटी टेस्ट के लिए ये इनकी वेबसाइट पर टेस्ट होते हैं या फिर देयर आर सम अदर वेबसाइट्स
So, Hiba, very good question. They are not our tests. These are, certified psychological personality tests. The two websites that I would recommend for you to look at, one is truity.com, TRUITY, and the other one is opencolleges.com. And what we can do is afterwards, I can share the links with you, Xaryab. You can put it out and share amongst anyone who is interested.
Okay,
thank you so much. Second question, yeah, my second question is कि जो IELTS के टेस्ट होते हैं और से importance of these tests, IELTS and TOEFL, ये अगर हम मास्टर्स में जी जी
So जी masters में particularly as an international student, the vast I would say every program that I have come across will be asking you either have to submit your IELTS, mostly more preferred in the UK, TOEFL, mostly more preferred in America, either of them valid in both places, or Duolingo online and so on, unless you qualify for an English proficiency waiver. Here are some of the common things which qualify you for a waiver. Agar aapka undergraduate ki degree was completely in English, that is something which allows you to qualify for a waiver, not for all universities. So what you need to do is you need to check on that specific website whether this will allow you to have a waiver. Most of the times it does. Let's say the university says, no, you still need to give your IELTS and TOEFL. Unki kya worth hai? For humanities and social sciences, it carries more weight. So because English is going to be the medium of instruction, I'm assuming if you're going for the IELTS and TOEFL of the curriculum that you're understanding, humanities and social sciences will put more weightage on the IELTS and TOEFL versus engineering and medical related degrees if you're going overseas. So you can get a lot of free prep. Aapne notice kiya hoga, by the way, my mother's side is from Bombay, merchant khoon hai, to we try and look for freebies all the time. So you can get a lot of free practice tests on the website. So I would suggest between that and YouTube, you don't necessarily have to pay to go to tuition or anything.
All right.
I hope that
Thank
answers
you
your
so
question.
much. Yes, I have another question. जो जॉब्स और इंटर्नशिप्स की बात जो की गई है, जॉब्स का एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए होता है, वो कितना चाहिए होता है? क्या हम उसको इंटर्नशिप्स के जरिए कर सकते हैं? क्योंकि यहाँ पर 2 माह की इंटर्नशिप होती है, मैक्सिमम 4 मंथ्स की होती है इन द फील्ड ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन. सो व्हाट अबाउट जॉब एक्सपीरियंस अगर मैं अब्रॉड जाना चाहती हूँ?
So जी, job experience is actually preferred. I mean, internships is also very good, but अगर आप full time मुझे आपकी हिस्ट्री नहीं पता, बट अगर आपने अपनी बैचलर्स खत्म कर ली and you're thinking about going for your masters, it's better for you to show full-time work experience versus an internship. Internship is usually done in the summers in between your academic schedule. कि आपने स्प्रिंग सेमेस्टर खत्म कर लिया है, आपने फॉल शुरू करना है, तो आपने गर्मियों में, and we normally suggest a minimum of 4 weeks internship. उससे आप कम करेंगे तो you're really not going to learn anything. And so I would suggest if you can get a full-time job, that would be the first preference.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Iram, let me try to. Iram Fahim also has a question. I believe she has her hand raised. If you can unmute your mic, Iram, you can come on the microphone and ask your question. Yes.
السلام علیکم.
وعلیکم السلام.
جی میں مسز فہیم کراچی سے بات کر رہی ہوں. سب سے پہلے تو بہت خوشی ہوئی مجھے کہ بچے میرے بڑے ہیں لیکن میں نے اپنے ایکسپیرینس میں ایسا اچھا ایکسپیرینس نہیں کیا تھا. میں سمجھتی تھی کہ شاید پاکستان میں ایسے اسکول ایسے کالجز ہیں ہی نہیں جو اس حد تک بھی بہتری سوچ سکتے ہیں پیرنٹس کے لیے. میرا اپنا بھی تقریباً 18 سے 20 سال کا تجربہ ہے. میری بچی جو ہے اے لیولس کر چکی ہیں لاسٹ ایئر اور ماشاء اللہ سے بہت اچھے گریڈ سے اس نے سٹی سے ہی کیا تھا. میرا بھی کافی بڑے اسکولس کے ساتھ ایکسپیرینس رہا لیکن مجھے ایک افسوس ہمیشہ یہ رہا جیسے جیسے وقت گزرتا رہا میں یہ دیکھتی رہی کہ پیرنٹس پوری لائف اپنا ٹائم اور اپنی ساری چیزیں انویسٹ کرتے ہیں لیکن 20 سال کے بعد بھی نہ بچے کو سمجھ میں آ رہا ہوتا ہے کہ انہوں نے کیا کرنا ہے اور نہ پیرنٹس کو پتہ ہوتا ہے کہ ہمارے بچے نے کیا کرنا ہے. ڈگریز لینے کے بعد بھی نہ اسکول اور نہ گھر اس کے مائنڈ کو اوپن کر کے آئیڈیاز نہ دے سکتے ہیں نہ اس سے لے سکتے ہیں. یا تو ہم کانفیڈینس اس کو دے دیں یا تو ہم اسکول سے لے لیں. اگر اسکول میں اتنے ایجوکیٹڈ سسٹم اتنا ہے ان کا ایجوکیشن کا اور اتنے ایجوکیٹڈ ٹیچرز اور ان کا پورا سسٹم ہوتا ہے تو اس میں اگر اس ٹاپک پہ بات کی جائے تو یہ تو پیرنٹس کے لیے کیا اچھی بات ہے. آپ یہ دیکھیں کہ ہر قیمت پر پیرنٹس تو اچھی سے اچھی تعلیم دلانا چاہتے ہیں دنیا کے کسی کونے میں بھی بھیج کے کہ ہمارا بچہ کانفیڈنٹ بھی ہو جائے اور وہ اپنی فیملی کے لیے بھی کچھ کر سکے اور اس کو رسپیکٹ بھی ملے. اب اگر 20-25 سال اپنی زندگی کا آدھا حصہ ماں باپ صرف اسی چیز میں انویسٹ کر دیں اور اسکول کالج میں بات ہی نہ ہو اس چیز کی کہ پرسنالٹی کو کھولنا کیسے ہے دماغ پہ کیسے کام کرنا ہے. ایک اللہ تعالیٰ نے اس کو اتنی ساری خوبیوں کے ساتھ بھیجا ہے اور اسکول والے بھی اس کو ایک ہی ڈبے میں بند کر کے ساری زندگی ہلاتے رہتے ہیں اور وہ بھی بیچارہ ایسے باہر آ جاتا ہے 20 سال کے بعد تو وہ وہیں کھڑا ہوتا ہے کہ میں نے اب کیا کرنا. تو سر پکڑ کے بیٹھے ہوتے ہیں یار ساری زندگی ہم نے جو تھا وہ تو تم پہ لگا دیا اب تو تم ہمیں بتاؤ تم نے کیا کرنا ہے. اب ہمارے پاس تو کوئی جواب نہیں. تو یہ ساری میں سوچتی تھی زندگی میں کبھی کہ شاید پاکستان میں کبھی مجھے ایسی آواز ہے نہیں تو میں نے تو ایسی آواز دے دینی تھی کہ ایک ایسا اسکول سسٹم جو میرا خواب ہے ہمیشہ کہ بچہ جب جائے جو یہ بات کر رہی ہیں مس کہ ہمیشہ آپ دیکھیں نا بڑے بڑے کنٹریز میں اس چیز کو ایکسیپٹ کیا جاتا ہے کہ صرف ایجوکیشن میٹر نہیں کرتی آپ کی باقی سکلز ہیں آپ کی باقی ایکٹیویٹیز ہیں. اللہ تعالیٰ نے جو ٹیلنٹ دیا ہے اس کو بھی پالش کرنا ہوتا ہے لیکن ہمارے اسکولس تو اس پہ بات ہی نہیں کرتے. اگر بچہ کچھ اور ایکسٹرا کر بھی رہا ہے تو اس کو منع کر دیا جاتا ہے کہ بھئی یہ ساری چیزیں گھر جا کے کرنا. گھر والے کہتے ہیں اسکول سے اتنا کچھ کر کے آئے ابھی گھر میں بھی تم نے کچھ کرنا ہے. تو یہ بچہ تو خود بیچارہ نہیں اپنی پرسنالٹی کو ڈسکرائب کر پا رہا ہوتا. تو یہ اس طریقے سے جو بات ہوئی ہے یہ تو ایک بہت میرے لیے تو بڑی خوش آئند بات ہے کہ اگر آپشن بھی دیا جا رہا ہے کہ پہلے بچے کو تو پتہ کریں کہ وہ کیا چاہتا ہے پھر وہ خود اس کو سمجھ میں آئے گا پھر وہ اسی حساب سے پڑھے گا سیکھے گا تو ہی وہ ایک اچھا انسان بن کے معاشرے کی بھی خدمت کر سکتا ہے اور اپنی فیملی کی بھی کر سکتا ہے. تو جو خود سوالیہ نشان ہے بچہ تو پھر وہ اس کے بارے میں ہم کیسے جواب دیں گے. تو یہ تو بہت اچھی بات ہے. میں خود بھی بہت کنفیوز تھی. میں نے بچوں کو پڑھایا پھر اب میں نے جب یہ 2 سال 3 سال ہو گئے یہ کووڈ کا سلسلہ ہوا تو میں نے اس سارے سسٹم کو دیکھ کے یہ انڈرسٹینڈ کیا کہ میرے بچے تو روبوٹ کے علاوہ اور کچھ بھی نہیں ہے. جو چیزیں سکھانی ہیں وہ تو میں نے گھر پہ سکھانی ہے. تو پھر میں نے بچوں کو آن لائن سسٹم پہ کر لیا مطلب پرائیویٹ ہی پڑھا رہی ہوں. ابھی میرے بچے جو چھوٹے والے ہیں وہ او لیولس میں ہیں تو میں ڈھونڈتی رہتی ہوں کہ ایکسٹرا جو چیزیں ہیں ان کو میں کہتی ہوں کہ پڑھو بے شک پڑھو. مجھے یہ غرض نہیں ہے کہ میں یہ کہتی ہوں کہ تمہارے پورے سٹارز آنے چاہیے صرف اسی میں. زندگی میں خالی یہی چیزیں کام نہیں آنی اور بھی چیزیں ہیں جو آپ کو زندگی میں کام آئیں گی. تو اس کے لیے اسکول ہمارے لیے بہترین چیز ہوتی ہے کہ جہاں پہ ایک پڑھے لکھے ماحول میں ہم اپنے بچے کو بھیج رہے ہیں اور ہم مطمئن ہوتے ہیں کہ ہمارا بچہ ذہنی طور پہ اچھے لوگوں میں ہے سائیکولوجیکل اس کو کوئی پرابلم نہیں ہوگی. مدارس میں کئی پیرنٹس نہیں بھیج سکے اپنے بچوں کو صرف اس وجہ سے کہ پتہ نہیں وہاں کا انوائرمنٹ سیکیور ہے یا نہیں. تو اس میں آ کے اگر اسکولز والوں نے بھی پھر اتنے سال کے بعد ہمیں وہی سب کچھ لپوٹ کے دے دیا تو پھر اس سے زیادہ محنت میرا خیال ہم خود نہ کر لیں. تو یہ اگر اس طرح سے اپرچونٹی دی جائے آن لائن اور بچے کے لیے بہت اچھی چیز ہے تو یہ ہمیں تو فیور چاہیے ہوگی اور پھر ہم ضرور ان کے ساتھ انشاءاللہ اٹیچ رہیں گے اور پیرنٹس کو بھی گائیڈ کریں گے کیونکہ میرے ساتھ بھی
آپ کا مائکرو فون
جی اب صحیح ہے آواز.
جی اب صحیح ہے.
جی میں یہ کہہ رہی تھی کہ یہ ہے میرا تو زندگی کا تجربہ جو میں نے آپ کو بتا دیا ہے کہ یہ تھوڑا سا سلسلہ میرے ساتھ رہا ہے. ابھی میرا بچے چھوٹے بھی ہیں بڑے بھی.
آپ دیکھیے گا ابھی ہم ان کے انشاءاللہ اسی طرح کے زوم سیشنز میں اسکولز اور کالجز کو بھی انگیج کرنے کا پلان کر رہے ہیں, تاکہ کیونکہ ان کی یہ جو گفتگو ہے جو انہوں نے کی ہے کہ باہر کے یونیورسٹیز کے لیے کیا کیا چیزیں ایسی ہوتی ہیں جو ہمیں پتہ ہی نہیں, ہم ایز اے پیرنٹ ہمیں نہیں پتا کہ ہم بچے کو کس ایج سے, اگر if we want our child to get an educational degree from a well reputed university or college abroad, تو ہم کون سی ایج سے, میرے لیے دیکھیں انفارمیشن ہے, میرے لیے نیوز تھی کہ ninth grade is the ideal age bracket for a child. کیا ہم اس کو کب سے پلان کرنا شروع کریں اگر ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ وہ اعلیٰ تعلیم حاصل کرے اور اچھے کسی باہر کی یونیورسٹی سے. اور جیسے یہ جس طرح سے زور دیا ہے شانزا نے کہ why not go for scholarships, اور وہ بھی فل برائٹ اسکالرشپس, کہ جس میں آپ وہ تمام بینیفٹس کس طرح سے گین کرتے ہیں جب بچے ایجوکیشن میں بھی اچھے ہوں, گریڈس بھی اچھے لیں, اور پھر بھی ان کو گائیڈنس ہی نہیں ہوتی, ان کو پتہ ہی نہیں ہوتا کہ کیسے اسکالرشپ کس طرح سے اویلیبل ہے, انلیس ٹھیک ہے جیسے انہوں نے کہا آج کل کے بچے ہمارے کافی ٹیک سیوی بھی ہیں, اور ان کو پتا ہوتا ہے کون سی ویب سائٹ سے جا کے کیا کیا چیزیں پتہ کر لیتے ہیں وہ, کہ جیسے کون سی یونیورسٹیز کیا کیا آفر کر رہی ہیں, کورسز کہاں سے مل رہے ہیں. لیکن میرے لیے یہ پچھلا 1 گھنٹہ جو ہے بہت انفارمیٹیو تھا, اور میں تو بڑا کچھ سیکھ رہا ہوں اس سے, اس 1 گھنٹے سے, اس ساری ڈسکشن سے. اور میں کافی I was stunned in the middle. I was silently listening to Shanza explaining everything so nicely. اور آپ ٹھیک کہہ رہی ہیں ارم کہ اب دیکھیں اس طرح کے ہم کے سیشنز اور بھی کریں گے جس میں یہ ایکسپلین کریں گی, بلکہ ہم ابھی میری ہم ذرا شارٹ نوٹس پہ ہم نے یہ شی از کائنڈ انف کہ ہم نے 3 دن پہلے ڈسکس کیا ان سے, انہوں نے کہا کہ yes I can make myself available to discuss this, کیونکہ ان کا جو پلیٹ فارم ہے that platform should actually be a known platform in all schools. اور ان schools میں جیسے انہوں نے شروع میں ذکر کیا schools کے نام لیے, یہ باتیں اگر ان کی اس طرح کی ڈسکشن جو ہے ان schools میں آتی ہے اور ان کو پتہ چلتا ہے کہ کوئی ایسا پلیٹ فارم ہے جہاں سے یہ نہ صرف دیکھیں ایک میں نے جو ہم نے آج تک سنے نا, جیسے انہوں نے شروع میں کہا کہ وی آر ناٹ کمپنی دیٹ جسٹ takes them wherever they want to go to, or just takes them the way the parents want. She said no, we would first evaluate a student and then guide a student کہ تم نے کہاں جانا ہے, تمہارا ایپٹیٹیوڈ کہاں فال کر رہا ہے, پھر اس کو اسٹوڈنٹ کو وہ اس کی پروفائل بنائیں گے اور لے کے چلیں گے. The way I get it. Correct me Shanza if I'm wrong.
Absolutely, Xaryab. And on that, I would just reiterate the importance of having the entire family on board. آپ کو امی ابو اینڈ اسٹوڈنٹ کو کٹھے لے کے چلنا ہے, آپ اکیلے یہ نہیں کر سکتے.
نہیں کر سکتے. True. So wonderful. Iram, if you want to add anything else to that, otherwise if there's any other question that anybody has, because I have 2-3 questions then otherwise, and then because we're taking a lot of time from Shanza, but it's so interesting me as an older brother to many, and as a parent to a child myself, I have certain questions. Okay, now یہ تو ہو گئی ساری وہ تمام discussions through which I got to learn a lot about your platform. I got to learn about the world of education, how a parent should think about, I think on what lines a parent should be thinking on, or as a student مجھے کیا کیا سوچنا ہے. You've taken me very nicely through the path so far. Now the trick questions come. Okay, let's say I as a parent approach your company and I say, okay, I have a child and she's March May, I think she has her exams for the 9th board exams of some sort. She's an exuberant child, very, very mashallah flamboyant. Twice she went through a double promotion sort of a thing, whatever what that's called, from 3rd grade to 5th and from 7th to 9th. وہ ماشاءاللہ ایسا بچہ ہے, you would be amazed کہ مجھے آ کے کہتی ہے میں نے 1 سال کی پاپا میں اگر پورے سال کی بکس پڑھ لوں 1 مہینے میں, آپ پرنسپل سے بات کر کے میرا ایگزام لیں اور مجھے وہ پروموٹ کر دیں گے. میں نے کہا اوکے, if you can do it I've read about Thomas Edison. I've read about Einstein and all sorts of people doing crazy stuff. Okay, if you can do it. उसने वाकई 1.5 महीना लगाया, सारी बुक्स पूरे साल की पढ़ी और प्रिंसिपल को जाके कहा मेरा कहीं से भी एग्जाम ले लें, जैसे भी ले. And we did that. The only thing she needed was a go ahead from a father's side, from a parent's side, the confidence that yes, you can do it, and yeah. I will manage the rest as a parent. कि मैं convince कर लूँगा. She had that faith in me. And alhamdulillah, the principal also agreed, and उसने exam दिया और उसने clear किया. Principal ने pride के साथ उसको 3rd से 5th में move कर दिया. Same thing she did on the 7th grade of some sort. Like, okay, you can do it if you can do it, or and she did, and now she's in 9th grade. But when we started talking about these things, it gave me ideas. That okay, then if that child is that sort of a galloper, I would say, and likes to gallop into years and into classes, into grades, then maybe I could also put her into a thought gallop of some sort. That okay, this is the age where you start to think about these things. Go through this video of Miss Shanza, and she's explaining that this is the age now. What she's going to do, she's going to go on YouTube, she's going to put it on fast speed, she's going to increase the speed because she wants to learn it quickly, and then she's going to go through the whole hour, and then she's going to start throwing questions at me. This is how I know her. So for a child like this, and a parent who's was a victim of a child like this.
Oh, you shouldn't be saying that. It's mashallah, an honor to be a father of such a child.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And but the thing is, now this puts certain questions in my head. That okay, I'm all sold by your idea. I'm all in, and I would want my child to, if she wants to. I'm not going to force upon her that you go do this. I'm going to at least keep an option open for her. So as a parent, the first thing I learned is that I'm going to put her on the test that you just mentioned. That okay, she's going to take that test, and I'm sure in a week's time she's going to say, okay, I've gone through the test, I've taken the snapshot study, and okay, now what? So now what is the stage I want to be at currently? What is the next step for a parent to approach your company? How do we enroll? What do we do?
Just shoot us an email, Xaryab. info@ioniv.com, contact@ioniv.com. And, you know, even with this, that, hey, I saw your video, we did the personality test on your own. We're curious, can you help us just to verify all of this, what we've gathered on our own? And if the parent also wants, what are our next steps? What all is out there aligned with my child's area of interest? So from what I was gathering from what you're saying, this is absolutely a gifted child, right? And अफसोस ये है कि इस तरह के बच्चों को पाकिस्तान में opportunities नहीं मिलती हैं of the sort they should be getting. Like, so what she's doing essentially is, you know, literally galloping through classes, but her knowledge for the most part is confined to the textbooks from one year to the next, unless she's also learning from YouTube and so on. Now, for children like these, there are actually programs around the world, particularly in the US, where MIT ka RISE program le lein, RISE. That's one example. They have also a program, it's just dedicated for girls. And here's the beauty of the program. It's free. So as long as you get accepted into the program, you know, if she is that brilliant, there's no cost involved. I think you might have to pay for her plane ticket, maybe not. But apart from that, the cost of the program itself, so she would be put through a summer program of the best of what's going around in the world. So, you know, once again, I would have to see her results and have a conversation. But the idea being that students should be able, and, you know, when I talk about what extracurriculars you should be doing, and we touched upon very briefly कि हम आपको national or international opportunities बताते हैं. We link students up in their area of interest to the best youth programs जो globally around हो रहे हैं, because you want to have that connection with other students, other peers, your age, who are different from you. A big problem of our society, it is, it's not very diverse, Xaryab. We have such little room for tolerance, even for those who are not like us. And I think that is a big part of the problem in our society. This is excellent exposure for a child to get to actually work with, and often on teams with, students from other parts of the world. आपने 9th grade का mention किया, अभी recently, if she's a public speaker. And so these are the kind of opportunities we inform students. So University of Cambridge recently held MUN. So debating MUNs have now become, very popular even in Pakistan. So it was absolutely free to participate in. So as I said, कि हम all, except students in Pakistan, don't know about it, right? If they knew कि all you need to do is sign up for this event, और आप University of Cambridge के platform में MUN कर रहे हैं, the value of participating in that versus the value of an inter-school competition, the weight is so different. The experience is so different. The exposure is so different. So our job, exactly. So our job is essentially कि in the students' area of interest, हम आपको हर possible information, we'll let you know both paid and unpaid opportunities. You can come to us and say, I only want free opportunities. They'll be more limited, but we will move according to the family's mission. Most free opportunities, like the MIT one, tend to be very competitive. So you do have to be brilliant in order to get in. You can't say, I want to do it, and you get accepted. It actually, you have to fill out an application form, you have to write a couple of essays and so on, but it's good experience for college.
Yeah. And it's obvious when it's for free, then there would be plenty of students applying for that. So there would be a longer queue and a stronger competition. That's understandable. But yeah, you know what? You have put a lot of ideas in my head. You have put this drive as a parent that I would definitely look into this. I would put the child on a task, and inshallah, we would be approaching you very soon with that. And,
thank you, Xaryab. It would be my pleasure to work with someone like her. I mean, once again, I feel like the talent and potential in our children is so great. We just need to give them the right opportunities. We need to get them out of this mode of ratta. And frankly, that's what OA level has also become. We have mastered how to get the A stars and A's. They have forgotten how to learn.
Very true, very true. This is the sad part of the education system over here. But honestly speaking, Shanza, back in 1987, was it, or 86, 87, I guess, I was in presentation convent school Murray, and along with two of my brothers, and we moved to Chicago in 1987, 88. I always forget the exact year. And in Chicago, when we went from presentation convent school into Chicago, we were the finest students leaving the school from Pakistan, and the finest students entering the school, amazingly, because the standard of our presentation convent school was way far ahead and better than the standard of an average American school at that time in 1987, 88. And this I remember. Yeah, this I remember because our teachers would say to our parents, where did you bring these kids from? I mean, what school? Because we are impressed. And then when my father would say, it's actually a very small town in a very small country called Pakistan, because back in 87, Pakistan was not even on the map for the Americans.
No, it wasn't.
And then they would be like, what? Can you show me on the map where this city is? Because your kids are far ahead from the students of their ages. And so that goes to show that there was a time when the system of our education was very good. And frankly speaking, I personally have seen this system collapse and go down. The demise of Pakistan education system we've seen growing up ourselves, and that is sad. That is where now as a parent and then as a student, we were rather shocked to see that God bestowed a system upon this nation, and this nation could not sustain it for somehow. I mean, the blame goes to everyone. The blame even goes to us, the students who had this system of education and did not play any part in maintaining the system. The blame also goes on the teachers and the principals and the government and the politicians. Everybody. I mean, everybody played their part in the demise of the system of education in Pakistan. But having said that, there are still, just like you said, there are still very talented students. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Almighty, we are still being gifted with children who amaze us with their talents and the capacities and capabilities they possess by birth. And Alhamdulillah, with platforms like yours and with people and companies like yours and with people like you, I see a good future for these talented kids to at least get some guidance and a pathway to a brighter future. And see, now you're sitting in Pakistan after having been graduated from all parts of the world to the highest names, the biggest names that can come to our minds. And you're coming back to Pakistan, bringing all that education and experience behind you, and serving the country, serving the people. And I mean, that goes to show that how a Pakistani is looked up to by people like me. I mean, I really look up to you. This is what drives.
Thank you so much, sir. You're very, very kind of you.
This is why I requested you to give us a couple of hours out of your precious time, because I really respect people who go anywhere in this world for education, exposure, business, or whatever they want to do, and then come back to the country and serve their people, serve their nation and their families and their cities, however they would want to do. And there are a lot of du'as and prayers that go to your way from my side, from the core of my heart.
Jazakallah, Xaryab. Thank you so very much.
And I thank you again very much. I don't see any more questions, and I would not want to keep you any longer already, because you spent 2 hours, and I thank you very much for these.
The honor is all mine.
और अल्लाह आपको बहुत खुश रखे, अल्लाह आपको कामयाब करे आपके काम में, कारोबार में, आपके इस मकसद में, और आपके थ्रू अल्लाह ताला बहुत सी यूथ को गाइड करे और उनको ठीक रास्ते पे लेके जाए, वो अच्छी तालीम, अच्छा करियर ढूंढें और फिर वापस आके अपनी कंट्री को भी सर्व करें, या वहां रह के भी चाहें तो अपनी कंट्री को बहुत सर्व किया जा सकता है, as long as their intent is there. God creates ways in so many ways. So Allah ताला आपको कामयाब करे. I thank you very much on behalf of the Grey Lounge.
No, thank you so much for inviting me.
And in the end, I would want you to send any message across to parents or kids listening to all this as a closing statement from you. This is a trend of our Grey Lounge. We leave the ending note to the guest as our gesture that this whole Zoom call happened because of you, and we thank you from our side. And please, you can leave a message to everybody who's listening.
Thank you so much. I would actually end with a message to the parents. We spoke a lot about how the education system has declined, and I think one thing I would like the parents to introspect. One big change I have seen from when I was going to school here to now, and all of three of my children are going to school. In my generation, if the teacher said something, if your report had read over it from teacher's remarks, the parents would take the child to task. आपने ठीक से क्यों नहीं पढ़ा? आपने तैयारी नहीं की? The child would be questioned. I am now appalled to see that when something like this comes home, the parent takes it to the teacher and says, why did you give my child these comments. My child deserves to have higher marks. My child deserves to have this. This has two really bad consequences. One, the child is actually seeing from this behavior that, my parent is protecting me. It's actually hampering their learning. And number two, it has the really sad effect of students then not respecting their teachers as much as the way they should. I could not imagine, ever, even forget about being rude, any question or disagreement was formed very respectfully. And now there's just this license of, teachers are, and one of the ways this whole system is corroding is that teachers, they're looked upon as bichare. I mean, for heaven's sake, they should be at the highest pedestal of this entire society. That's the way it used to be. Ustad, hamare religion, maybe it has a big, significance. A teacher is a very, very great thing. And so my parting message to parents that next time your child brings the report home, perhaps there should be some introspection first. What do we need to do in order to change this around? And let's work with the teacher in order to make it happen, rather than simply pointing the finger over there and saying, very commonly, I pay X amount of money. It is the teacher's job to make sure that this is done. So that would be the note I would end on.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much again. And we will request you to some other time at your convenience. Please join again, and we have several other topics to discuss with you, because I would personally want people to also go through the experiences that you had as a student, and then later on now as an entrepreneur, mashallah, yourself. For that we would have you on board one more time at any time of your convenience. And
thank you so very much, Xaryab. It has been my pleasure and my honor to be here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and you have a very, very good career in this, mashallah. I pray and I hope, and whatever Grey Lounge can do for you, please feel free to ask us as a family, and we would do all that we possibly can.
Thank you so much, Xaryab. I'm honored. Thank you.
You take care, and
thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay. Now I have to